Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets Podcast Pioneer, with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets Podcast Pioneer, with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. And don't forget, we'll see you next at AAPEXshow.com at AAPEX in Las Vegas, November 5th through the 7th this year, 2024. Studio in hand, right across from Joe's Garage. Please stop by and say hi. There's so much good stuff going on. The AAPEX is off the charts this year as to all the great things that they're doing for us automotive aftermarket service professionals. Hey, I want to welcome Scott Brown, the Scott Brown from the East Coast.
Yes, there are several of us around.
There are Cardinal Shell. Hi, Scott. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. Congratulations on the 1,000th episode.
Thank you.
What a big deal that is. When you hear somebody's got their 1,000th podcast, you almost know you're going to tune in and see somebody with white hair and nice heavy white beard.
Oh my God.
That is a badge of honor.
You're killing me. Well, we were doing, we started to do 2 a week, probably maybe 8 years ago. And of course, we also have the Town Hall Academy. We have For the Record. We also did a show called Aftermarket Weekly. So it's way more than 1,000, but just 1,000 for RRR. I affectionately call it RRR. Hey, look, you're a shop owner. You do a lot with coaching. You got a great friendship network. I know you're faith-based. We did an episode with Craig Noel about the 364 days. What if you had 364 days left? And immediately Scott wrote me this most incredible letter. And it was all about what recently happened to him. And I said, we need to tell that story. And there's a reason we tell those stories, because I love to say the words intuitive, intuition, paying attention to stuff that goes on around you in your life. We get warning signs all the time. And if we listen to our body and the world around us, we can learn a lot. Well, in Scott's particular case, he had some really, really major health issues and setbacks. And it's not like we're here to try to tell you this could never happen to you or could happen to you, but how Scott was able to deal with it and where he currently stands now, because none of us are immune to things happening to us, not only families, friends, but personally. And so walk down this highway with us, listen to Scott's story, and maybe it'll change your life.
Sure. Well, thanks. When I was listening to your podcast with Craig, I was so impressed, and I was really impressed with Craig Noel. He had his own health challenges, and he came up with a real good supposition. How would you live if you only had 12 months left? And something you said on the podcast, I don't even remember what it was, but I just felt moved to reach out to you immediately and just check in with my friend. And I wasn't thinking about doing a podcast or anything like that. I just wanted to make sure, everything's okay with you.
Sure.
And my thought that I had, when I saw the title is, Craig, we're not even guaranteed one more day. When you're giving yourself 12 more months, I love the idea. I love it, but it's
yeah, I know.
The neat thing is that I really felt like I identified with Craig, because I don't think that he was really prepared, to have 12 months left. And I wasn't prepared either. I do love shop owners. I mean, I don't know of another industry that is populated by so many hardworking, just caring people. And I truly believe that if you know any one of us, you've got a pretty good handle on all of us shop owners, because we're all pretty much the same person. That's both good and not so good. So one problem that I've always had in my life is control. I think it's normal, to want to control everything. The pandemic came along, and I think we all learned our thoughts of control are kind of an illusion. And I thought, maybe if I could just work harder, work smarter, meet my customers and their need, that would be enough. And about 18 months ago, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. it was a weird day. I found out on my phone through my chart. It was like, you have a new test result. And that was a tough few hours. I had to figure out what was
Wait a minute. I got to stop you. Wait a minute, Scott. You found out on your phone?
on my phone at a red light. I was coming home from one of the shops, and it was, email pinged that you've got a new test result. And so I clicked on it and opened up my chart, and there it is, a certain type of carcinoma.
How
And
could a doctor let that happen? I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to this whole
I was
bedside manner thing.
I was horrified, but since then I've figured out and it happens not just with my chart, but with all of them. What happens is they'll send out samples or send out things for a lab, and when the lab is done,
I
they
see.
post them on my chart, and so the doctor gets it at the same time you get it.
Hmm.
And so probably not the greatest idea to, as soon as it comes in, click on it, because if it's something that needs attention, I'm sure the doctor would have reached out to me, but I didn't really give him a chance because I clicked on it at the red light, like
Okay.
2 seconds after I got it.
Warning. To me, that's a warning that be careful when you open something up and you don't quite understand it. But okay, the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's I had to go home and talk to my wife and, talk to the kids and, got to make a bunch of new friends, the surgical team. And at the point I thought, I started to really learn to trust God and surrender to him. I thought I had done that during the pandemic. I dedicated my shop to his service. And so, you think we all do. We think we've got control and maybe we've got our life in order, nailed down, and understand how the world works, but when something comes knocking on your door in just any Wednesday morning out of the blue, or doctor tells you your end is near, or the phone rings at 2 in the morning, you realize instantly that the control you thought you had it's just really more self-deception than control. We try to really get a handle on how things work. All of a sudden that wisdom seems to live on the other side of the world. We can chase it, but you have trouble getting the full measure. So the first thing, I'm like, I thought, I do a lot of coaching, that I was set. My affairs were settled, and I was wrong. I heard a speaker once talk about he called it a dying in place test of your succession plan. And I had not done that. But basically, without telling anyone, you just check out for a day or a week and have no contact with your team at all. Of course, you'll see your wife, but tell her, you can't help. Do they know where the money is? Do they have access to the bank accounts? Do they have all of your corporate documents? Access to the life insurance and the will and the trust? Who's going to take over your job functions? Because it wasn't what I thought it was, we started working on those plans. Medical team was awesome. I started to get better. We did the surgery, did the treatments. Then they do a thing, for a year where they were going to do a scan every quarter, and just to make sure everything's just surveillance. I passed two of those cystoscopies. I never really felt 100%. I would go to meetings and I just get tired and, could not even get out of my chair by like 2 in the afternoon, most afternoons.
Scott, was your body talking to you?
I don't know what it is. There's so many things. Medicines that they have me on
Ah,
give you
yeah, that'll do it.
they give you body aches, but nothing, honestly, nothing to complain about. I
Okay.
mean, gosh, there's so much people have it so much worse. The cancer came back. And so it was like, and that was earlier this year, but it was less than 12 months since the first one. And I think that was probably the greatest gift I've ever received, was the cancer coming back. Because the reality was, as I started to feel better the year before, as I started to, I passed a couple of cystoscopies, I just really wanted things to go back the way they were before. I just wanted to be the god of my own life and could get back to control. I'd been giving myself to God, but I felt like maybe I was trying to borrow myself back. And now I realize that
Oh,
I need to be his for good.
you needed
And
another hit upside the head, apparently. That's what you're saying. And
yeah,
I'm not being nasty or unsympathetic, but you turn that into a positive, the recurrence.
well, I don't think it was me turning anything into a positive, because I don't give myself any credit for anything. And I think that's part of it. But for the first time, I think I truly began to understand what it meant to live just one day at a time, as though you're not guaranteed tomorrow. And it's just a new lens to look at life through. So every day now, every moment I consider a gift. And honestly, I was great. I found it so wonderful to share that moment with you when I called you
Yeah.
after I had watched Craig's episode. And I'm extremely glad to share this moment with you as well. And I heard a story not long ago, and I said this once during one of my devotionals, and it was a story about a wise elderly rabbi, and he's walking down the street with some of his disciples, and that's what disciples with rabbis do. They follow them and learn how the rabbis live and try to follow their example. And one of them asked him, Rabbi, when should a man repent? And the rabbi answered, on the last day of your life. And they kept walking. And of course, several of his disciples are like, but we don't know what day is going to be the last day of our life. And the rabbi smiled at him and he said, well, the answer to that problem is very simple. Repent now. And I think the fruits of that story is don't wait even another day for your plans. Enjoy your life. Enjoy the people that God's placed in your life. If you need to get that financial plan or the family plan or all those things done, get them done now. Don't assume that you get next year or the year after that, or after I buy this next station, after I hire that next technician. Don't worry about all that stuff. Get it done now. Lately, I had some other health things that went in there and I was extremely blessed. I think I did have a miraculous healing of my heart where, I had 3 arteries that had been, and this is just to show you his greatness, but they were between 70 and 99% blocked. And this was through multiple tests.
Is that why you weren't feeling good? It was the heart issue, wasn't it?
It could have been. I don't know.
Okay.
You
I've
know,
been there. I've got that stuff going on inside of me, and I had it corrected. And man, did I start feeling so much better after I got my thing done.
But once I think that you've been through something like that, and even worse, I think it's so much harder on the people around us. I would never, ever want my wife to go through the torture that I put her through for the last 2 years and honestly continue to put her through.
Hey, AAPEX 2024 registration is now open at AAPEXshow.com. Now, AAPEX has an incredible value for the service professional, shop owner, technician, and service advisor. Joe's Garage is your place to hang out with 10 working bays and real live working conditions. You'll find special seminars on Audi, VW, BMW, Mercedes, Tesla, under-the-hood diagnostics, advanced drivability, ADAS calibration, transmission training from ATRA, and more. Business and sales training on mastering organizational skills, time management, leading your team, and driving profits, among others. This year, the training courses are some of the best offered ever with the industry's best and brightest trainers and coaches. This year's AAPEX 2024 will have more product demos, trending training, marketing and social media support to help you grow your career, sales, and profits. Remember, if you earn your living in the aftermarket, then AAPEX is the expo for you. Continue listening as we bring you the latest from AAPEX 2024 and save the date, November 5th through the 7th. Don't hesitate. Go to AAPEXshow.com. Hey, let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, we'll be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA Trax, that's NAPATRACS.com. Hey, ever wonder how your labor rate compares to your market and state? You now have a site where you can confidentially upload your rate and see other labor rates published in your market. LaborRateTracker.com is an important site to know about. Currently, the database has over 1,000 shops participating and growing every day. But there's more to setting your rates than finding out what others charge. You should look at the labor rates in your state and town to gain a complete picture of the labor rate landscape. Hey, it's easy. Get market intelligence like never before at LaborRateTracker.com. Explain that torture thing to me. I mean, you're not doing anything deliberately. It's just the situation.
No, but if I feel like I have a lack of control, think about her. The person that she loves doesn't feel good. And it's just one thing after the other,
All
after the
right.
other. And you wonder, how much more?
Yeah. All
And
right.
she's just got to sit there and watch it and take me to all the appointments. And I don't think I've been to a doctor appointment by myself yet. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know how. And I feel like I'm in pretty good health. And like I said, I can't really complain about any of those things. I don't know how the elderly people on their own can possibly keep track of all this. It's overwhelming. And she has done all that and sacrifice. I mean, honestly, we both are sitting around talking and you think, gosh, this is not what I expected life to be. I didn't expect it to be like this. And especially for her. And I'm like, hey, better or worse, you got me. It's just like I said, that's probably the worst part about getting sick is what you can just see what you do to the people around you.
I think that is such a huge takeaway from this. Yeah, you want to get better. Yeah, there's a lot of sympathy for you and support and help, but the people around you, lots of stress.
Well, I mean, what do you say to somebody's spouse, when they're sick? Oh, it'll be okay. Like it's hard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just everything is a little bit hard. And again, and that's why, I think in her own way, she is now living her life one day at a time as well. Lately, I do think that Mary Beth and I have both learned a lot. We've been moved, and this was honestly the main reason why I said, hey, I want to go with Carm because, this is things that I didn't realize before. And in setting my plans, even all the plans that I had done, I think they're insufficient. And they're insufficient in that so many times there's a phrase, and it's in every country, in every language in the world. And the one that I use is shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. What that means is that no matter how successful, a person is, a creator, a founder, no matter how much money you amass, typically by the third generation, the money's gone. It's squandered. And your grandkids, you can expect them to be back working hourly wages in the short sleeves, just like you did when you started. I don't want that. And for most people, you know, think about what you know about your grandparents. Okay, maybe you remember them when you were little. You're lucky enough. What about your great
Yeah.
grandparents? Maybe their name. Maybe you know what they did, but you don't know their lessons. You don't know their stories. You see so many people where especially when there's money involved, where the offspring fight with each other. They compete with each other. And and a lot of times wealth destroys families. I don't want that to happen. So we've been planning with my adult kids for family preservation. And we think that the time frame there isn't in 5 years or 10 years, is 20 years is long term. We're planning for 100 years. We're planning for 4 and 5 generations. And this is where I had told you that I had a story about a tree. There's a tree, and it's called a copper beech. Only place where there are mature copper beech trees, I think, in the U.S. are in Rhode Island, or that's where I've seen them. And the trees are awesome. The families, they're in front of the big mansions in Newport, Rhode Island, and they'll all gather around the tree and link hands. And these trees are so massive, it may take 5 or 6 adults to get all the way around a tree, or 10 kids. And the thing about them, though, is that it takes 150 years for those trees to fully develop. So just think about the courage it takes to plant one of those, because you're planting that for people that you'll never know, people that you'll never see, but you're planning it for them to enjoy. And that's kind of the way I'm looking now at trying to prepare my family. I'm preparing for people that will never know me personally, but they may know the lessons that we've learned and that we've passed on. There was a guy, Marshall Lotney, and he was one of Napoleon's generals, and they were best friends, and they ended up actually even being buried next to each other. And of course, he had which was the style back in French in the 1700s, was to, or whenever they lived, was to have gardens. And he asked his gardener, why don't we have a copper beech tree? And the guy says, because it takes 150 years for those things to grow. He just looked at him right away. He said, then we must plant today. We have no time to waste. And I just thought that was really cool. And I think that's kind of what I'm using like a metaphor in my mind, when we're looking at this wealth preservation. And by wealth, I'm not talking about financial wealth, although that's a part of it, but it's more about the family, the way that the family governs itself, the way that they take care of each other, the roles of the aunts, the roles of the uncles in helping to raise, the nieces and nephews. And all this can be done. And probably the one that we are all emulating, not necessarily their politics, but the way that they've kept their values going, would be the Rockefellers. And they had a very specific thing that they did. It involved charity, it involves storytelling. And I just thought it was an interesting thing. It's still a journey of progress. We've been working on this now for probably 3 or 4 months. And it will probably, I'll defer to Craig, it'll probably take me another 364 days before this will even be close to being done. But it's something that we're working on together. And so I just thought that I would come and share. And I've heard more and more shop owners talk about these sort of things, not necessarily exit strategies like selling your business, but a succession strategy, like
Yeah.
what happens when the people succeed you. And I think we can be intentional about those things. And
Scott, in theory, this is a brilliant discussion because so many of us in the industry are ripe, ready to find a successor to sell the business. And there's all those challenges that if you're not working up toward that in your life, you're not going to have the success at selling in succession if you hadn't heavily planned on it or done all the right things. I love your metaphor about the copper beech tree, that we're constantly growing. If our listener out there isn't going to be moved by this story, then okay, pause next episode. But if you are, let this thing resonate with you. Think about the challenges that you have, even if you're in your 50s, 60s, early 70s, and you're looking for something to do. Life ends up becoming, the older you get, life ends up becoming shorter and shorter. You've been given another chance here. And there's where I'm feeling and sensing your passion. It's not just thank you, God, for allowing me to survive this and live and move on. You're going to make it your mission, not only in family and this whole generational thing, but the people around you are going to hear stories that I hope will change their course.
and I don't think it's hard. I think it's all things that, you know, if I had learned about this 20 years ago, great. We'd be much further along. But yeah, this is stuff that you can do. You can start pretty much at any time. And when I was talking about like family wealth, this is another thing. I had a friend. He's got tons of kids and they're all following him into his business, and it's wonderful. And I followed my dad into the business. I'm second generation. And none of my older brothers or my younger sister did that. I was the only one. And it all worked out great for all of us. We're all good friends. And I talk to my siblings all the time. But so many families that doesn't happen.
Families getting together, it
Yeah.
happens. You got a chance to get in.
Yeah. But one of his kids, I could tell because he asked me about it, maybe, wanted to follow a different path. And he asked me, what I thought. And I'm like, well, and this was really even before this family wealth thing in my head started, really percolating. And I said, I don't think there's any real reason to force a child not to force, but, and you can do it in emotionally and things like that, to follow you into a business. And that guy is now a freshman at a college. He's being really, really successful. He loves his classes, and who knows, where he'll end up. There's a thing in economics called competitive advantage. And so that means everybody has different competitive advantages against other people. And so maybe I'm a heart surgeon, and I'm not a heart surgeon, but those guys are impressive. I'm really good at that, but I'm also really, really good at cutting my grass. And I can cut my grass better than the guy from the yard service, and I can cut it quicker than the guy from the yard service, and yet it makes 0 sense economically for me to cut my own grass because I can take that time and I can be way more productive fixing the plumbing in people's hearts.
All right, you've convinced me. I'm going to get someone to cut my grass. Oh, but I like doing it. Oh, okay, never mind.
I used to like doing it too. And my wife one year gave me she said, "Hey, I'm going to get this guy and he's going to cut the grass for the rest of the season." And I think she just planned to do it for the 1 year. And I don't even own a lawnmower anymore.
Really? All right, so help me.
Heinrich does it. It's fantastic.
So help me. I'm going to throw the how much at you because I'm curious. I don't know how big your lawn is or whatever. What are you paying? $50?
Yeah, it's about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's just a regular size. I mean, I'm in a suburb of DC.
All right.
It's just a regular, neighborhood, and
But you got the trim. You got all the extra good stuff.
they do a
right?
better. And I won't say that I did a better job, but it used to take me like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
And now they're in and out with a team of guys in like 20 minutes.
I'm going to move over to the cardiac thing because I think you had your story is great about the divine intervention that you had with the blockages in your heart. Please, let's sum this thing up in the perspective of pay attention, take care of yourself, look at this, look at your legacy. What are you going to leave behind you? But tell us about the heart.
Well, I said, I'd had these blockages, and they were quite concerning because there was interactions between the cancer and the treatments and the surveillance that they're doing in that. So they couldn't do, like, I'm not a candidate. They can't put stents in me. That will never work.
Why is that? Is it the makeup of the vein? Was it something
Because
else?
I'm now on
A drug.
I would have to, yeah, I would have to be on blood thinners. When they put a stent in you, then they have to put you on certain types of blood thinners
Right.
in order so that it doesn't stop back up. But because of the surveillance that I now do every 3 months, and because of the immunotherapy treatments that I do every 3 months, apparently it's all inside. I never see it, but apparently that can be
Okay, it's compromising. So you can't
yeah. So
you can't take the blood thinners in order to
Right.
do the stents. You were in really tough shape. What happened?
They did a catheterization, and we had 2 weeks. And you said that I have lots of friends, and my friend groups have really changed a lot. And there were lots and lots of people praying for intercession. People I don't even know were praying for me. And it was a couple weeks later, which is the earliest they could get because they wanted to get right away. They did the catheterization where they send the camera up through your wrist into the heart, and they take pictures, and they were going to go map out the strategy for when they do the surgery. And they found all 3 of them were not as bad as they thought. They were 100% clear, 0 blockage.
How'd they determine what the blockages were before they did the angiogram?
Scans, CT scans.
All right. Okay.
And yeah, they got all kinds of nuclear medicine that I don't understand. And
okay, sure.
But it was more than one, and so it was like, all you can do there is just say thank you.
Were you out of breath before that?
No, I really didn't. I've really never had the classic heart symptoms. I've been able.
But I have, and I'm a recovering stent guy. I'm 100% with you, man.
And now you have that, and so it's always up here for the you always know, is it coming back? Is that what did I just feel right there?
Yeah,
and
I'm hearing you, Scott. To a point.
No, I'm like sympathizing with you.
Yeah, and I think we're empathizing with each other because after I had my stents, and I don't think I've told this story too often or maybe ever in the last 9.5 years, but I'm going to tell you, I was a changed man over the fact that they saved my life. I never had a heart attack. I had 5 stents put in over 2 operations. Now that it was in the history of my family. My dad had open heart, but I never have yet, and I hope never. But knowing that I dodged a huge bullet, my whole life changed. Everything I looked at, I became extremely emotional. It allows you to continue.
I cry all the time. hear a song, see a picture. It's a thing. The emotions are, it's not, and they just come out of nowhere.
I'm all in, man. I've been on record to say that after I had that done, I could cry at chick flicks.
Oh, the dog ASPCA commercials. I mean, it doesn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just a.
All right. Okay. Well, this is eye-opening for all of us. Maybe the title of this episode needs to be Plant a Copper Beech Tree. Think about that.
Yeah, it's just, I think that every day there are moments that present themselves to us. And it may be somebody that you see when you're waiting in line at the coffee store, or you hold the door for somebody, or see somebody that's limping and you're going to help them with their back. Whatever. I mean, just in every moment you have a choice, and
Yeah.
you can look the other way, or you can make yourself available,
Yeah.
and put aside your own personal preference or self-interest, and just for a moment do what you're called to do. That is probably the thing that will create just amazing amounts of joy in your life. And once you look for those, or just open yourself to those kind of moments, they are everywhere. And like I said, I am shocked that we're having this discussion. And honestly, if I'm not here thinking like we're just having a cup of coffee and talking, I don't know that I talk like this, because
well, I know that I appreciate you reaching out after you heard Craig Noel's episode. Thank you for sharing this with me before we decided to record and deciding what was this recording going to be like? What's the message out to the listenership of Remarkable Results Radio? What are they going to glean from this? A ton. Paying attention to your life, your body, your family, your business, your people, it is something that, let's just talk about it. Our phones are pulling us in a million different directions. We've never been busier with our life. We've never tried to do more things that sometimes don't even have any value. And either I'm getting a little softer or rougher on the edges. I don't know, but it's like, what's next? I can't believe it. I've got this to do. I mean, we're overscheduling, we're overcompensating, and let me go on and shut me up.
no, there's a phrase they call that a pharaoh of busyness, where you can make actually busyness uh, into an idol in your life, and that is a very, very bad thing to do. And
Pharaoh of busy. It means it's so logical. I mean, if you got common sense, everything that Scott has said during this thing has value.
I don't know about that, but
it does.
But
It does.
I enjoy that anytime I get to spend with you.
Oh my God,
And
me too, Scott. This was great. Thank you for sharing, and hopefully we've changed a life or two.
Thanks, Carm.
Scott Brown from the East Coast. Thanks, man. Appreciate you being here.
Bye-bye.